Hi everybody, how's it going today? Thanks for watching another video from by our feeding area here this morning. Thought I'd make a video for you guys about loading a mix of feed and unloading it. This is going to be a load of feed for our milking cows. So we'll go through all of the ingredients in our commodity building there, and then silage, sorghum, beet pulp, earlage. He's unloading right now. Pen 9 and 10 will come back to load for pen 3 and 4 when he gets back here. So we'll go first we'll load alfalfa baleage. That's sitting just in front of the payloader there. You can't see that here, just inside. And then we'll go from left to right in the commodity building there. The first bay is ground corn. We don't feed that to our milking cows, just to our fresh pen, I guess, and then our close-up dry cows. So we'll start with the second bay. That's canola meal. The third bay is wheat midds. The fourth bay is mineral mix. And then the fifth and sixth bay, they're corn distillers. And we go back and forth. So whichever load was unloaded here first, we'll feed that up first. And then in the big bay there, we also have durum flour. And then from there, he'll go to beet pulp, earlage after that, sorghum after that. And then we have the silage piled over here. We haul that in the afternoon for the next morning's feeding. So this is about enough silage for today here, sitting close to the loading area. So I thought I would use my drone to film the loading. Thought it would be interesting to see some of those ingredients going into the mixer and how the mixer mixes it up, pretty much like a big blender, I guess. There's 3 screws on our feed wagon. We do run our mixer the whole time that we're loading feed. The baleage that we feed to our cows is still pretty long. It needs to be cut up shorter for the cows. So we need the mix time to size the baleage to the right length, essentially. So yeah, you'll see how it works, how the ingredients get added, and then when the silage is added, he'll pull out of the loading pit over there and drive over to our shop, and we load molasses there. So every load for our milking cows gets molasses. That's the last ingredient. Then it's also the feeder's responsibility to go empty out the feed bunk, whatever feed is left. We shoot for about 3% left over. That's about a bucket to a bucket and a half per pen. So he'll clean the bunk out, and then he'll grab the tractor again and unload it, and then he'll come back for another load. So he's mixing for 2 pens at a time, but our mixer can't hold quite enough for the 2 pens completely. So all of our milking cows, they get fed once in the morning, and then they get topped off with a few thousand pounds, 4,000 to 5,000 pounds in the afternoon, with 1 load that we mix in the afternoon for the milking cows. Here he comes after just unloading that last load, and I'll back it into the pit there again. So where we load our feed wagon is a couple feet below the level that the payloader's on, just to make it easier to reach up into the wagon. So we'll back into that pit there, get in the payloader. We do use a feeding program. There's a tablet in the tractor that's connected to the scale on the feed wagon. He'll pick which pens he wants to feed, and then he can adjust if he thinks that they had too much feed in the morning or not enough. He can adjust those up and down by 1% or 2 if needed. And then every ingredient, exactly what he needs for those pens, will come across the display. So it'll show how many pounds of baleage, how many pounds of canola meal, and then he goes through. He has a clicker in the loader to go to the next ingredient. This is essentially how that works. So after loading the molasses there, I'll come by and empty the bunks out here, clean the feed that's left over with the skid steer. I thought while he was doing that, I'd go to the last pens he fed there and just show you guys the feed quick and talk a little bit about why we need the mixing time. So these are the last 2 pens that he just unloaded here. You can see quite a few cows eating. So these cows would have came back from the parlor just about at the same time as he unloaded this feed. Hi girl. So I see that Victor and Carlos have this left pen here locked up, so they must be breeding in this pen. So typically if they have to do any breeding or preg checking or any work in these pens, they'll try to do that right after feeding, because that's when most of the cows will come up to eat, and then most of the cows will be locked up. So we need the mix time because we want to have, you know, we want to have some length, but we don't want to have it too long. So some of these pieces, they're about inch and a half long. So that's about what we want here. If you mix it too long, it'll start to look like, I don't know, almost like applesauce, like a mush. You don't want that because that's not good for the rumen. But you also don't want pieces that are 7/8 inches long either, which is about, I mean, so it's even a little longer in the bales. We're shooting for the right length. I see Carlos over there, he's laughing at me. He doesn't want to be on the video usually, so he's waiting for me to be done. We want it to be the right length that the cow is going to be able to maximize the nutrients, but we also want there to be some length there for her rumen mat, for her rumen to function properly. I'm late getting back to the barn. He started unloading already. This would be pen 3. They're in the parlor now. He's got this pen unloaded. And he just started unloading pen 4 there while I was driving backwards. Now I'll unload the rest of the way. Typically, the first pen that we unload out of the mixer will unload with 1 door, or at least when I feed, that's how I do it. And then the second pen will open both the front and the back to make it unload a little bit quicker, because the mixer's not as full, obviously. There's about 170 cows in each of these 2 pens. Like I said before, 1 full mixer load will load about 75 to 80% of the feed for those cows, and then we'll come back in the afternoon. Probably about 80 to 85%, I guess. So we'll come back in the afternoon and top them both off a little bit. Like I was talking before, we want that mix time because we want to size that alfalfa to a certain length. We don't want it too short, because then it's not good for the rumen, not good for the rumen mat. But we also don't want it too long, because then the cows will sort it out. So if there's really long pieces of alfalfa in there, they're going to try to not eat that stuff, because they want to have the shorter stuff, and they'll try to sort it out with their noses. And that's absolutely not what we want. We want them to eat the whole mix, just like these girls are here. Just take a full bite. Every morning we have 5 loads for the milking cows, and then 1 load in the afternoon for the milking cows. But in the morning, after the milking cows are fed, then depending on what day it is. So we feed our far off dry cows enough feed for 2 days, so they're fed every other day. And then our youngest calves are fed enough for 2 days, so they're fed on opposite days. So depending on what day it is, he'll feed one of those 2 loads. Then he'll feed a load for our close-up dry cows, and then typically the last load in the morning would be for our heifers, our older heifers. So our older heifers also get the feed left over from the milking cows that the milking cows don't eat. So their ration, part of their ration is the leftover feed from our milking cows. We're trying to shoot for that our heifers are eating all their feed, or at least close to it. So every other day we clean the bunks on the heifers, and that whatever they don't eat, that goes on the manure pile. But typically it's just longer pieces that are left that weren't cut up really good. They get fed some sorghum, so there's some longer pieces in there. You'll see when you watch the mixing video. I didn't get any footage of him dumping earlage or sorghum in the mixer because I was changing batteries on the drone when he got to those ingredients, but they were put in there, just if you were wondering. Looks like they're pretty happy to me. You can really smell that molasses that he loads last. It's a really strong smell. These 2 pens here that he mixed for, these are all 3rd lactation plus cows, high production cows. I think that'll be it for this video. Appreciate you guys watching, and if you have any questions or comments, post them down below. Try to answer them as best as I can. I haven't done a Q&A video in a while, so if you guys have a lot of questions, I think I'll try to post a Q&A video. Appreciate you guys watching, and hopefully we'll see you in the next one.